Hi everyone, this is Sonia Chavla and welcome to our Sunday live session. Just give me 1 second while I wait for some people to join in. Hi Rohan. Alright, so once again, this is Sonia Chavla and welcome to our Sunday live session. Our topic for today is relationship, family and mental health during pandemic and beyond. And to touch upon this topic with us, we will have Asta Aluwalia, who is a counseling psychologist and a partner at Reboot Wellness, which is an ecosystem working for mental well-being. Now, on one side, it is a very good situation, a happy place to be in, with news coming in that the second wave is almost over. We see that the cases are going down and the positivity rate is very low. The government has decided to lift the lockdown and open up things in a controlled manner. So that is one aspect of good news that we are getting. Now, at the same time, the other thing that is being reported is that, and what experts are quoting as and terming it as a psychological crisis after the end of second wave. Now, the pandemic has triggered a mental health crisis in the country, and as I said, it is being termed as a psychological, psychosocial crisis. And if we look at the numbers reported by the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, then these numbers are 4 times higher than the cases that were being reported at the end of the first wave. Now, in the first wave, while we saw that these cases were primarily to do with the fact that there was a lot of stigma around um, COVID cases and a person who got COVID positive. But at the end of second wave, these cases are different because we have seen in the last couple of months a lot of loss, people losing job, people going through financial crisis, death in the family. So a lot of things and the issues that have happened in the last couple of months are adding on to the cases that are now being reported in terms of mental health and the people who need this mental health support. Now, honestly, I know for a fact that these are certain terms which have come up very recently, and there isn't a lot of information around it. And so we thought this was the right time to once again touch upon this topic of mental health awareness, and talk to a psychologist or a person who had hands-on information about this thing to discuss this thing with us and educate us more about mental health. Now, I'll quickly take Astha into this conversation, and I think she's the best person to discuss on mental health. So, Astha, hi Astha.
Hi Sonia, how are you?
I am doing very well, and in fact, I'm doing this live from Missouri. The
Oh, how
idea,
lovely.
yes.
How
So I
lovely.
also thought it was a long time that I was sitting indoors and doing everything from a closed space, and it was time that I needed to come out
So this
myself
is
and
where you were when you told me that I was on the highway.
yes, I was on my way here.
Wonderful. Your background is looking it's looking marvelous and very, very envious of you right now. But
Thank you
I'm
so
glad
much.
that you're out there and taking a break for yourself.
Yes, so it'll be almost a work from hill situation for me. But
Yeah.
yes, I also realized that I had had enough of working out of a closed space in that last 1.5 years almost now. And
Yeah.
I need to take care of myself and my mental state as well because it was getting on for me
Most
as
important. Most
well.
important.
So, Asa, before I go ahead and take some questions around this mental health, I'll quickly introduce you and tell people more about you and the work that you do in this space. So, Astha is a counseling psychologist, and she's a partner at Reboot Wellness, which is an ecosystem working on mental well-being. She is a dynamic psychologist with multidisciplinary skills, and she holds a vision for inclusive mental health and is very passionate about building awareness around this subject. She's been into the field since 2007 and has hands on information and knowledge and experience and expertise in dealing with cases around it, and firmly believes in promoting holistic well being as one way of being. So, Astha, tell me, as in, honestly, I would also not say we read about this thing a lot, and we have been hearing this term mental health now very frequently. but I would also not say that I understand this completely. So, what is mental health, and why are we talking about these things now, in the last couple of years, and especially after the Deepika Padukone or a Shaheen Bhatt coming out in open and talking about certain things? Was it not there before? Has the such concerns come in now? And why do we see an increase in these cases right now?
Sure. So before I tell you, why are we talking about mental health, I want to talk a little bit about what mental health is. Right? Mental health is like how we have a physical body, we also have a mind. Now, our mind resides in our brain. It is our capability of thinking, of feeling, of taking decisions, holding out conversations, having relationships, etc., etc. Anything that we do comes from our mind, right? Now, because we have a mind, it has certain obstacles also. It has certain parameters that we have to check for and keep in check also. And our mind also requires us to be as compassionate to it as we are to our physical body, right? So the word mental health essentially means taking care of our mind. It means taking care of how we feel, what we think, how we behave, what we do, ensuring that we may not be, always happy or always feeling positive or great, but ensuring that we have the capability of understanding how and what we are feeling. Now, coming to the question that you asked, that why are we all of a sudden talking about it? Of course, the awareness that got created after Deepika Padukone came and said and spoke about her depression, I think that was a reality check to a lot of people that, even successful people or people who we think are so successful are also capable of falling short. Now, when I say falling short, I mean that they are also capable of feeling different kinds of emotions, which is why she and both Shaheen Bhatt wrote a book about it, and a lot of people came and started speaking about it. But I think one thing that has been a real leveler for all of us is the pandemic. Pandemic has done for mental health what we wouldn't have been able to do in 10 years. It's done in 1 year itself. It has changed the environment so much that we are almost pushed to look at how we are feeling. The regular coping mechanism. Now, if had this been a regular June without the pandemic, we would have all been planning holidays, summer holidays with our children, with our families, going out, or taking a break, resting, relaxing, maybe going out for a walk in the evening, going to the park, doing things that kept us going. Also, we wouldn't have had the stress of social distancing, keeping ourselves locked away, keeping ourselves shut at home. So all of those stresses wouldn't have been there also, right? Because the environment has changed, hence our response to the environment has changed as well. We are responding to whatever is happening. It's like saying that if I pinch you, you will feel something. Up until now, we were not feeling the pinches as much because we were, like I said, we were all coping very well. I'm talking about mass coping, right? I'm not saying that there were no mental health issues earlier on. There were, but the awareness and the numbers were lesser. Now the numbers have increased because our environment and our situation has increased. And more people are getting okay to talk about it. I mean, it was high time that we start speaking about it. And besides the, because so another thing that comes with mental health is the word mental, right? I think that's where the stigma comes. कि मैं पागल थोड़ी हूँ. I'm not mad. I'm not mental. I'm not crazy. So a lot of stigma comes from there where we say that, I'm not mental. The word mental means our capacities, our ability to use our mind. That is what the word mental means. Our mind is capable of so much. From even while we are sleeping, our mind is active, right? Everything that we're doing, our mind is functioning and working. So giving respect to that mind is important for us. It's as important as as drinking water or going to sleep or having food.
So, Srivastava, what we are saying is that yes, those stresses have always been in our life, but right now the situation is such that more and more people are coming, as in facing those kind of issues right now. So,
Yeah.
when we talk about that people are facing mental health issues, what do we mean? What issues?
Issues like I said, we're not doing things that we were used to doing. So there's a lot of okay, earlier when I was stressed about work, or when I was overworked, or I feel overwhelmed, or I had a fight with my partner, or my children were not listening to me, I had multiple avenues to reach out to, right? I could just go out for a walk. I could just go, meet my friends. I could just go watch a movie. I could just go to the mall. A lot of our coping mechanisms have gotten choked. And because these coping mechanisms have gotten choked, it is impacting the way I feel. Also, with the whole pandemic situation, and especially around the second wave, when it's been a catastrophe for, for the world, and especially for India. In the last 2 months have been so scary for all of us. Now, when we experience such great amount of fear around us, when we experience, such, I mean, fear so close to home, we all get overwhelmed. It's a natural reaction. So most of whatever we are feeling, first, I mean, I think it's important for me to point out here and say that whatever we are feeling is understandable. It is a reaction to the situation, that we don't seem to have control over our situation, which is making us feel very anxious. There is no predictability. We don't know when the situation is going to end. We don't even know how much or what precautions do we have to take, and for how long. So there is no definite end that we can see, which is putting a lot of pressure on us. It is creating stress for us. It is also impacting the way we are thinking, because our thinking, how do we plan? We were, as a race, we are so used to planning for our future, for saving, doing this, doing that, that now all of that has been taken away from us. So despite the fact that not only are we dealing with the current situation of, oh my God, I should not get COVID, or my family should not get COVID, and I need to be precautious, and take all the caution possible. I'm also having to deal with what lies ahead. I don't know what lies ahead. All of these situational circumstances are bound to impact the way we feel. So there is, in general, in practice, we've seen an increase in anxiety. And when I say anxiety, I mean, there have also been a lot of cases of panic, of overwhelm, of having a lot of emotions at the same time, feeling restless, feeling uncomfortable. और अगर मैं हिंदी में बोलूँ तो घबराहट होना, दिल बेचैन होना, नींद ना आना. So insomnia has been a big cause. Also because we are in a lockdown for so long, we are not being able to function in our daily routine. So the sense of day and night is going away. The sense of weekday is going away. And also for a lot of people, there is an insecurity of job. A lot of small businesses are not functioning. Even big businesses are impacted acutely. Factories are shut, shops are shut. So a lot of these daily concerns are putting pressure on us. They're making us feel anxious. There are also signs of depression that have gone up, meaning that feeling low, feeling lonely. A lot of people are feeling very isolated, especially those who are living away from families. A lot of people are having difficulty in understanding their entire thought process. There are so many negative thoughts that are coming, and these negative thoughts are almost become automatic. Automatically I begin to panic. Oh my God, you hear of something negative that's happened and you automatically go into a panic situation. So all of these are some of are the issues that we are all facing. And though it's a natural reaction to our situation, it's also something for us to pay attention to.
Yeah. So, Asta, these are stresses that are coming from the pandemic situation, right? And even otherwise, even without pandemic, or as we say, the mental health issues have always been there. Now it's just that the cases have gone up because of the situation. Now, what does it lead to? So if somebody is in this situation for a prolonged period of time, right, and they're
Yeah.
not able to address it, understand it, or not even be aware of the fact that there is a concern and they need support, right? What can it lead to if it is unattended?
So mental health comes on a continuum, right? There is no such thing as perfect mental health, because we are humans. We will experience all kinds of emotions, right? There will be positive emotions, negative emotions. There'll be anger, there'll be happiness, there'll be joy, there will be jealousy, there will be stress, there will be anxiety. So all of those emotions are experienced, which is what makes us quote unquote normal, right? When the amount of negative emotions increases, that is when we start to come into a reactive space, right? And when I say reactive, I mean that I start reacting to the situation. So a lot of us are in that reactive space right now, where we are reacting to a situation, we are reacting to, what is happening around us, we are reacting to whatever is going on. If we don't attend to it, the chances are that we can come into a more severe state where our negative emotions can overpower our mind, right? It can overpower our daily functioning. So if I have anxiety for a very long period of time and I don't attend to it and I don't take care of it or I don't talk to someone about it, uh, the chances are that it will start obstructing my functioning. Like say for example, I am feeling very anxious. So because I'm feeling anxious, I decide to take some time off, which is great, which is I think everyone should do that. Check how you're feeling and then respond accordingly. But if I don't actually go and talk to someone about it, and it doesn't have to be a psychologist necessarily. I'm not saying that everybody needs to run and come to a psychologist. All I'm saying is that it needs to be attended to, right? And if I'm not able to attend to it, then chances are that it'll start impacting the way I function. So the first thing that gets impacted are relationships. If I'm not happy, and if I'm not feeling safe and secure and emotionally not appropriate, it is going to impact the way I deal with others. So I can get short tempered, I can get irritable, I can become completely quiet and very reserved also. I can also I can also become very snappy or very irritable. So that's the first thing that start to happen. Our relationships start to get impacted. Then our daily functioning starts to get impacted. We are unable to do things that we are otherwise able to do. Like I'm not able to wake up in the morning, or even when I wake up, I'm not feeling energetic and fresh. I'm feeling tired and disoriented. I'm not able to work as effectively or concentrate as effectively as I could. I'm not able to if I'm a working person, I'm not able to carry out my work tasks as much as I could. I'm finding it difficult to make decisions. I'm finding it difficult to, speak to people, communicate, share my thoughts, and I'm constantly having this, feeling of being tired or being overwhelmed or being heavy, that heavy feeling that something needs to change. So a lot of these things start to happen. And if even at this time it is not attended, there's this very interesting concept in psychology which says that when we start to experience stress based on what our, where our threshold is, we get a very long window period. That window period is for us to do something about it before it actually becomes a problem. Having a mental health concern is very human, right? Feeling sad in this situation or feeling anxious during the pandemic is understandable. But if I don't address it, I'll have a big window period or a lot of time to address it. But if I don't, then it will start impacting, the more daily things in my life. And over a period of time, it just becomes more and more crucial.
Yeah. Asa, can you see me?
I think I cannot see you. I think you've turned your camera.
Just let me fix it. No, that's not the case.
Yeah, can see you now.
You can see me? Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So after my next question was like you said, it is going to impact the relationships around you. So see, families have a different kind of setup. It could be any person in the family going through that kind of a mental state. It could be the husband, your spouse. So it could be the mom who has a younger kid. Anybody can be going through it, right? Now, if for example, I realize that there is a family member who is going through that stress and is not being able to cope up too well, how do I support that person? What kind of support can families give each other right now?
That's such a beautiful question, Sonia, because it's so important for people to understand this that, like I said, everybody doesn't have to run to a therapist, right? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying don't go to counselors or don't go to therapists or don't go to psychologists. Go, but at the same time, the environment in your house makes a lot of difference as well, right? So, talking to your family members. Very often with family, we get into a telling mode. We start lecturing. Do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. I think before we get into that space with a family member, whether it's someone older than us or someone younger than us, it is so important to listen to them. Just hear them out. Allow them the space without being judgmental, that you can tell me anything, you can talk to me about anything. I am here to listen to you. I may not feel what you feel, but I'm going to try and understand what you're feeling. I think that's very, very important. Creating that space within a family to, talk to our loved ones, that you can come and share with us, right? We may not be able to guide you, we may not be able to tell you what to do, we may not even be able to take away your problem, but just sharing with us helps. There are a lot of studies in psychology which say that when we start to name our emotions, when we start to talk about our emotions and our feelings, and we start to put words to our thoughts and verbally talk about them or write them, the impact of that negative emotion or the negative thought goes down in our mind, because we actually make it very real. So that's very, very important for families to know, that the more you talk about it, the better you will feel. And then you're able to decide that whether this person needs a more professional intervention or not. So I think that's the most important thing to do. Just hear them out.
Yeah. So, as we discussed yesterday, there are two aspects of it. One is, we will talk about from a parenting perspective. One is a parent needing that help, and one is that you are a parent and your child needs that help, right? So, as we've discussed in the first half, that families can support each other by being supportive, and that we are more open about it and we talk it amongst ourselves. But now kids are in various age groups, right? There are some younger who are not even being able to explain what they're going through. And there are kids
Absolutely.
in teens, and there are a lot of various situations that can be there in the family. They are also going through stress because they see a lot happening in the family, right? Now, how do we deal with kids when it comes to mental health?
Like you said, different children of different age groups will experience emotions differently, right? And also their concerns will be very different. I think for the younger, we've actually got a lot of cases in the recent couple of months where a lot of parents have come and said that my 8-year-old or 10-year-old is getting very aggressive, or is getting very hyper, or is getting very cranky. I think one of the big reasons for that is that, if a child is 5 years, 6 years and below, they don't understand a lot of what is going on. So a lot of attention can be diverted by play, right? So I'm going to first talk about what are the basic hygiene that families should maintain when there are, as far as children are concerned, and then I'm going to talk about more specifically age group wise. So some things that are very important to ensure a general healthy lifestyle in these situations, both for our physical as well as our mental health, is to be active, right? So ensuring that there is some activity, physical activity that happens in the morning, there's some physical activity that happens in the evening. There has to be physical activity, especially for children who are otherwise, because they are in a growing stage, they have so much of energy which needs to be utilized. Secondly, it's important to understand the importance of flexibility at this point of time. A lot of parents I have seen that they tried and they're still trying to struggle with putting a routine. I understand the value of routine, and I think having routines is so important. It's very, very important to have a routine. But we need to make our routine flexible as well, depending on how our child is feeling. If I can visibly see that my child has been irritable or my child is being cranky, I need to respond to my child accordingly. I can't expect my child to sit on a Zoom class and attend his class one on Zoom all the time. That's not very natural for him. It's not natural for us as adults. I mean, imagine a child having to go through that. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying stop Zoom classes. None of these things. All I'm saying is respond to your children based on how they are feeling. So have your routines which are more flexible, so that there is some room for
I think we have lost Asta. Let's see if she's able to join back. Asta, I think we have lost you in between. Again, let me quickly send her a message and see if she can join us back. Give me 1 second. Asta, could you please just connect again and send me a request? and we'll take you back in the session and continue from where we were. Yeah. I think it was a bad connection and we have lost her. Please just hang in there while we start it again with her. Yeah, we have her back. Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I think we got disconnected.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I don't know till where was I.
We were talking about the kids, that putting that routine around the kids is very essential for the parents, but at the same time we need to understand this better and not be too rigid about
Yes,
how
the flexibility in routine is very, very important. Also, having a holistic day, having a day where there is time to, relax, there is time to study, there is time to interact with family, also allowing children some time to interact with their friends, though I know it's virtual now. It's not possible to have them, interact on, in person. Having all of those elements, putting a lot of emphasis on play is important right now, right? Stories are very important right now. Engaging children in different ways, that is important, right now. Getting good and enough fresh air is very, very important right now. See, the parameters of life have changed in the last 1.5 years, and we have to change accordingly. From parents, one of the biggest concerns that we get is मेरा बच्चा पढ़ता नहीं है, मेरा बच्चा concentrate नहीं कर पा रहा है. But try and understand that, right? Try and accept it that this is not. I mean, what is? I think, and I tell this to a lot of parents that you might have to reevaluate your goals for your children right now, right? And have those discussions as parents with your children as well, that the time has changed, so what is it that you want to do and how do you want to do it. So these are some hygienic things that parents should keep in mind. Other things that that are important is a lot of, especially children who are slightly older in age, who have crossed the ages of 8 and above, they know what's going on. They hear of deaths. They understand what death is a little better than a younger child. Talk to them about it. Also, too much information is not required. So there has to be a balance between what your child can understand and what your child cannot understand. Right? I see a lot of, in a lot of homes, that TV is on all the time with the news. That should just not be there. It's so important to limit that kind of an exposure to a child, because it just overwhelms a child, because the child does not know how to process that emotion. Doing feelings checks with your children. How are you feeling today?